1, 2, 3, 4.
Mrs. and a mic, you don't need much more.
4 misses.
Come on.
4 misses.
Come on.
5, 6, 7, 8.
It's your favorite podcast, so save the date.
4 misses.
Come on.
4 misses.
Come on. 4 misses and a mic. Come on. 4 misses and a mic. Come on.
Hi, guys. Welcome to the 4 Mrs. and a Mic podcast. This is CJ.
To the left is CC.
It's L.
And Bree. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hey.
So before we get started this week, we have to take a moment and shout out a podcast that we are fans of that has been showing us so much love. The Fly with Bats podcast. Hey guys. Hi,
Hello.
Mark. Hey, how y'all doing?
Hey. Whoop, whoop.
We just have to let y'all know the 4 misses are Team Tevin Campbell.
Yeah.
Yep, we are.
Tevin. Team Tevin all the way.
So what are we getting into today, guys?
We are discussing the right way to argue.
It's gonna be
Interesting one.
gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
To say the least. Before we get into that, though, I think we have to put a little disclaimer out there. When we're speaking of fighting or arguing, we are never speaking of physical arguments and fights. That falls under the realm of abuse. The 4 misses do not condone that. It is very serious, and if you are in a relationship like that, you need to seek help immediately.
Yes.
Please.
All right, so let's get into it, guys. Let's see. Should we start with some of the wrong things?
So let me go ahead and tell you the improper ways to argue. We're not saying that we do this right. We're just saying that this is how you shouldn't argue. And we're all working on it ourselves. Work in progress.
Yes,
Agree?
Absolutely.
Yes.
'Cause Lord
Yes.
knows.
Definitely.
Okay. So what we don't want you to do is we don't want you to constantly argue over trust issues. We don't want you to give the silent treatment. We don't want you to yell and scream. We don't want any public arguments and no storming off. Improper ways to argue.
Yes. And I think we've all been guilty of those things. So I will say for me, on that list, one of the things I struggle with is the silent treatment. And I think we talked about this on another podcast, how I need time to think and strategize. But that also means that I'm not communicating with my spouse at that time. Like, I am quiet. I am in my head. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure out what I want to say instead of actually hashing out that conversation with him at the time. And then I'm also guilty of yelling and screaming. I just get really emotional and I get loud, and it's not even intentional. I just do it. And then he'll say, well, why are you screaming? Why are you yelling? And in my head, I'll have to say, oh.
So is he the one
In
that
your
talks?
head, you're saying, oh, okay, but you're not telling him.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
not out loud.
Is he the one that's like, you're like on level 10 and then he's talking to you at this level right here and then you feel crazy because you're like, ah! And he's
can I
like,
just
but I don't
say-
understand. Or,
Yeah.
It is
Yes.
so annoying to argue with someone who is not arguing back.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I want to.
But it's not that he's not arguing back. He's just talking at a civil level and I'm screaming like a
Yes.
crazy person.
Yeah, but I feel stupid when I do that. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. I feel like, why are you not up here where I am? Like,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I tell you, I am definitely guilty of that. I will yell at the top of my lungs to the point where my throat is hurting after.
Ooh.
Yes, like a real crazy person. And that's just not healthy. It's not healthy at all.
So I'll say I'm guilty of everyone, but I'm totally against public arguments and the trust issues. Not so much that one, but one thing I am completely against is public arguments. Everything else I'm pretty guilty of, but the public arguments is not us.
Yeah, I definitely try to not get crazy in public as much as possible. Or at least I try to temper my volume in public, at least, even if, he's getting the cut eyes and the short words and it's not very loud. But I am guilty of the silent treatment. I am guilty of storming off. I'm guilty of yelling and screaming. I'm guilty of hitting below the belt. I am not a good arguer. I can admit that. That's my fault. I'm a work in progress, and I do actually utilize some of the tips that we're going to talk about later, and they work. It's just a matter of me getting out of my emotions and using them before I get to like level 300. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, for instance, oh my gosh, I'm pretty sure this argument started because of something he said to like a friend of his or about me in front of his friends or something like that. And it wasn't even really that bad, but it struck a chord and I just like unleashed basically. So I guess maybe, I don't know, maybe I was on my period. Maybe I broke in a nail. Maybe, like just a whole bunch of things that just clouded my head and stressed me out. And this was like the straw that broke the camel's back. And I opened the gates of hell on my poor husband. And I remember the whole drive home just screaming at him at the top of my lungs. Like everything he said, I yelled in response. And in hindsight, I feel so stupid. Like, I'm sure I looked like a psychotic person. But at the time, it's just, I was so angry and so mad. And he's the kind of guy, he's so even-kiltered. He's just going to talk. He's not going to yell back. Like, again, that frustrates me even more because I'm like, right.
Get angry.
I don't want to yell at a
angry.
wall. It's like yelling at a kitten.
Yep.
You know, like, who yells at a kitten?
Right.
So, you know, afterwards, after we got home, and I'm sure I ignored him and then stormed off and they did all the wrong shit, basically. We worked it out. But,
So I think one of the things that is important in this discussion is your ability to be able to reflect on how you argue and to be able to pinpoint the things you do incorrectly. Because if you feel that your way of arguing is perfect and it doesn't need any work, then this conversation is already pointless because you're not willing to recognize those flaws.
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
See, step one is acknowledging the problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the best thing to do though, because a lot of times when you argue, you're already just passionate and you're annoyed. So if you can find a way to stop, a lot of times I think that'll bring everybody back down. Didn't you have something that you said, Bree, about like a head to head? What was your?
Oh, okay.
So wait, are we
well,
going to like the proper ways or like the right things we should do
Did I
to
jump ahead?
argue?
Well, yeah, I mean, should we talk about that now, or are y'all gonna let me be the only person that threw myself out there and told the time when I was like a psychotic person?
No, I'll tell you one.
Okay, well, go ahead, Cece.
We've had a few. But one of the funnier ones, I guess, is the one where the crazy thing is I cannot even tell you what we're arguing about to this day.
I feel like that's a common
It is.
Yeah.
issue. Like the argument itself is so trivial, you
cannot
forget it.
tell you what it was. It was in the morning though. I was leaving to go to work. And it just got, I don't know, just one thing led to another. And we were just hollering and screaming. Well, I was hollering and screaming. And I stormed out, wrong. Yelling and screaming, wrong. And then I jumped in the car for dramatic effect, like slammed the door, like backed out the driveway, like going down the street. I'm like, I'm going to speed off so he can hear me speeding off because I was taking his car in a pothole. Boom.
New Orleans will not let you be great.
And I heard something. I hit something underneath the car. So I'm like, oh, man. Because now I have to go back and tell him, like, I hit something. Something's broken. Something's dangling underneath the car.
Just hanging at
So
the bottom.
instead of hearing, like, vroom, it was like, vroom, boom.
Oh, God.
Love the sound effect.
Because that's what it sounded like me driving back.
It was just scraping. So wait, so you turned around and you go back?
So turned around. I went back home because I wasn't far. And I opened the door and I was like, something is broken on the car. And he looked and he was like, you just broke my skid plate. So I saved him some money for his oil changes because they did not have to take the skid plate off. So he just got under there, detached it, and Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
That was bad.
But suddenly the argument was over, wasn't
I mean,
it?
at that point, it was bad. I don't even know if the argument was over. I think he was aggravated, but I think he wanted to laugh about it. Honestly, I think he thought it was funny because I lost. At that point, I lost.
Right. He's
Because
probably like,
I'm coming back. Yeah,
you
I
look
lost.
stupid.
You look stupid
Yeah.
now because everything you did, now you have to
Right.
come back.
Speaking of looking stupid, here's another time I did the wrong thing. This is a quick one though. I was like 8 or 9 months pregnant, so like belly sticking out so far you can't see your feet. We arguing, it's in the morning. I storm off, wrong thing. Get out the house, slam the door, bam, wrong thing. Go to get in the car and realize I don't have on shoes. So I go back in the house and he's standing there holding my shoes like, here you go, dumbass. I'm like,
you might
well,
need
hell.
these.
So it's just, you hate when like, you know, you try to be like melodramatic.
Right.
And you
Yeah,
have
it
to
doesn't
go
And
work.
then it just
back.
fails. Like, I was mad. I was very upset.
One thing that I have a problem with is throwing shit. I throw stuff
Oh my.
all the time. Well, I'm not gonna say all the time. There's been a few really big arguments where I've thrown something and broke it of his. One time I know when we were dating early in our relationship, he was living with his parents, and I don't even know what it was about. I really don't know what the argument was about. But I showed up to his house and I knocked on his window, and I was just yelling at him from outside his window. Yelling at him and screaming at him and cursing at him, and he's just looking at me like, "Are you serious?"
Why did he just close the window?
And it was like, he's like, "Elle, you need to go home. You need to go home. You need to go." He kept saying that. I was like, "I'm not going home," and I'm yelling. I'm reaching inside his window, grabbing things off his desk and throwing them at him.
From outside.
From outside. I'm still outside.
Outside,
And
but
I'm
inside at the
throwing
same
things at
time.
him. Well, he used to work on like car speakers and stuff. So he had a speaker on top of, I said, "Ooh, I hit the jackpot." I grabbed that and I hummed it across like into the street and it broke. And so he was like, that's when he was about to come outside. But at this point, I woke up his parents and they're like, "You need to come inside. Just come inside. Let's talk. Let's
Stop embarrassing
And-
us in front of our
yeah.
neighbors.
So I was pretty embarrassed, and so we had like a whole little counseling session, and his dad was just sitting there like he wanted to bust out laughing, like he could not even
That was Kiki.
keep a straight face. He was just like, "This is hilarious. Like I don't even know why we're doing this right now." So I mean, it's hilarious now, but I have no idea what it was even about. That's
You
the
are
crazy
so
part.
lucky he didn't slam that window on your fingers when you was reaching in
And you
Pens,
know,
pencils, notebooks. I was grabbing everything, and just throwing them.
yeah, you got lucky that he had parents that were willing to let you
Mediate.
guys hash it out.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
They saw something in you.
Right.
They
had
must
to.
have.
Right.
They
They
had
So
must
you
have.
throwing it in at him, or were you
Yes.
throwing it out the window? Oh,
In at
That's
him.
good.
Yeah.
That's good. But then when you saw the speaker, it was like, ooh.
It was outside. I threw it on the concrete. It was like, this has to break. I'm pissed.
What did he do?
What did he? He was like, "What? That's my speaker. What did you do that for?"
Knowing my friend Mr. L, that hit a nerve.
Oh, it
Because
did.
he was very into
But
the
even
sound
still, he
and
was
stuff.
calm though. He was just like,
I don't know. Was he still calm? I seen him
Nah.
get a little amp maybe once or
Nah,
twice.
he wasn't
That's
home.
funny.
I think he
For the
was coming
most part.
outside, and I think his parents might have known, like, okay.
If he comes outside,
this
it's going
is
to be
serious.
worse.
Right?
She needs
So
to
I
come
think they're
inside.
like, "You come on inside."
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, that was great. So CJ, you just gonna leave us out there like we're all crazy and you don't have a story?
Yeah, I am actually.
That's not fair.
I know. You're lucky we're not the kind of friends to spill your tea because we know your stories. We just not gonna tell
But
them
I don't
for
think
you.
I mean, y'all have like these really exciting, dramatic stories. I don't have any of those. Not with Mr. CJ. We don't. So y'all know Mr. CJ. He is a very calm person. It is hard to become crazy and irate with a very calm person. So if I do start screaming or, acting crazy, I do start to feel stupid after a while because
It's like arguing with a kitten.
yes.
Yeah.
It can't be
But
puppy
I have
dogs.
a
They gotta be
feeling.
kittens.
So I haven't, and I'm just also not a very like for me, I'm not trying to do things for a dramatic effect. Y'all know I'm very like logical and to the point. So in my mind, if like I have to think about it, and I'm like, if I do this because it just makes it dramatic, but it's not really going to solve the problem, then that's a waste of effort. So I just don't do it. I try to take the most logical approach. So we haven't had
everyone
any
out there. What we're gonna do is next time we have the husbands in the hot seat, we're gonna ask this question to Mr. CJ and see if his answer matches Mrs. CJ. Because I have a feeling on his end, he might feel like she gets a little more amped up than she's telling us right now.
But I told you guys, like, the two things I do is the silent treatment and yelling and screaming. And I feel like for him, he's going to make yelling and screaming seem like I'm burning down the house. But that's not the case.
But you might be. It just might not feel like that to you on the inside while you're doing it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, some choice words come out and like the finger gets to going.
The neck is rolling.
It can be a little intense, but
You know the hand thing where like you like put your hand like in their face and you like grab it back. My husband calls that snatching their soul. I'm good for that one. Oh no, you didn't. Like let me tell you what you're not gonna do. That's the one. Try me not. So now that we've thrown ourselves out there and told you all the wrong things,
I can do the proper ways to argue now.
there we go.
So, proper ways to argue. Argue the point and not the person. Never hit below the belt.
That's a bad one for women.
The girls, we sometimes will
Yeah,
do
we
that.
Pull the claws out.
Let's see. Recognize that conflict resolution is an important part of a healthy relationship, but the point of this is to reach a resolution. Sorry, guys. View your partner as a teammate and not an opponent. Never air your dirty laundry in public, including on social media. Utilize tools such as the argument box or the head-to-head method. That's what we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
Reach out to your MAP, marriage accountability partner. Define the criteria for an effective MAP. If you are wrong, apologize. Apologize.
Yeah.
Apologize. It's a matter of respect and not a sign of weakness. Recognize the difference between good arguments and bad arguments. Good arguments result in constructive actions, healthier outlook on the relationship, and no resentment. Bad arguments result in resentment and relinquishment of control just to stop the argument.
yes. So I agree with these things. I think one of the most important for me is never hit below the belt, because I know for me, my words can do some serious damage. Like if I am trying to cut deep, I will cut deep. So for me, it's important, and not just in my marriage, but in my friendships as well. It is really important for me not to do that, because I never want to say anything that leaves a lasting impression with that person. And I never want to do anything that will damage the relationship moving forward. I just don't want to say things that they will hold on to and harbor for years because I was heated in an argument and, just try to.
So
Right.
it's like the toothpaste. Have y'all ever heard that analogy?
No.
Toothpaste? Okay, so basically, if you squeeze all the toothpaste out of a tube, those are your words. Try to put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Right.
Not happening.
Right.
And so, people are like, oh, sticks and stones, blah, 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 blah. But no, words can hurt.
Yes.
And especially in a relationship, that person's probably the closest person to you, so they know
Yes.
all of your weaknesses, all of your skeletons, so that like drag that out in front of them and like throw it in their faces. That really can hurt
Or
long term.
Try folding a fitted sheet. Once you take the fitted sheet off the bed, you put it in the washing machine and you try to fold it and put it back in the closet, not happening.
I'm sure somebody can fold a fitted sheet.
I've seen it
y'all
on
fold
YouTube. I've seen it on
Can
YouTube,
y'all
but I cannot.
successfully fold a fitted sheet? Are you
I've seen
serious?
it.
It doesn't look like really balled
It
up.
looks like a
and-
real
It
like
looks
the
folded
regular
like a
sheet?
square. Like
Oh no, I can't do it.
There's a YouTube tutorial.
I know, I've seen it and I've tried it. and
That's okay.
It's just it can't be done for me.
Okay, that analogy, but
It's not a bad analogy. I just have superpowers apparently. So
maybe so.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think too, people do not realize the power in their words. And I think a lot of times we throw things around, accusations around, like we characterize people in a certain way without really realizing how powerful that is, and how, even if you're saying things that you don't really mean or that you don't really think, like just speaking that into existence and speaking that into the universe can really harm the relationship.
Speaking things into the universe. Please, Jesus, let me become a billionaire. Please let me become a billionaire. Let's just put that out there. Putting things in the universe.
So yeah, that's a big one for me. Like, never hit below the belt. That's a no-no.
I also feel like that's a difficult one for chicks in general. I feel like we tend to like when he hits that nerve, and his nerve isn't below the belt. It's just our nerve.
Right.
The claws come out. It's you could there's a meme floating around where it's like, you ever rib your girl and she'd be like, ha 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 ha, that's why your daddy wasn't in your life. And it's like, whoa. That took a turn.
Wow, that took a turn for the worse.
All I said was your ankles was ashy. What's going on?
Yeah.
Like, so we really have to watch that. It shouldn't be, at that point, you're not even arguing the point anymore.
Right.
You're just trying to hurt the other person, and that's not going to resolve anything.
Right.
Yeah. No. One pet peeve for me is when people air their dirty laundry, especially on social media. It's like,
because
Karen, I didn't want to hear that about your relationship.
Listen,
and
Karen.
then next week, y'all are like kissy face somewhere.
Right.
Like, it's just, don't do that.
By the way, we are all looking at you stupid, just so you know. When this week, you and Jamal are beefing over XYZ, and then next week he's your king and your man crush Monday. We didn't forget last week. You may have.
And then sometimes, they put every single detail, every single argument, and we're like,
yes.
We had this argument yesterday. It's not a big deal. Like, you'll get over it.
But
it's okay. I don't need to know.
You're pulling people from the outside inside.
Yeah.
And like your arguments and all of that's supposed to be an intimate place where, it's just the two of you guys talk and you resolve and, you work it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, what you're doing is opening the door for somebody else to slide on.
Somebody is watching.
Because I'm around to shoot.
Look, they're fighting again.
Who's like, she beefing with Jamal. Let me hit Jamal up in his DMs real fast.
Right. Yeah.
And now, instead of just y'all having an argument, y'all know y'all gonna be back together next week. Y'all not back together because he's with the other girl.
Yeah.
Right.
But you did that,
Yeah.
Right.
I think a big one for me is to not do the silent treatment, but recognize the difference between taking a beat to gather yourself so that you're not reacting on emotion and just being silent to be vindictive. Like, have y'all heard the one that is like, my wife's not speaking to me, but I have to text her to give her the opportunity to not speak to me, or else she's gonna be more mad. Yes. You have to recognize there's a difference between that and I'm just taking this pause to calm myself so that when I do react to you, it's respectful and it's to get to a resolution and not just so I'm yelling and screaming and throwing things and busting skid plates and whatever.
I mean,
stomping out without my shoes or there is a difference in that. So if your silence is to achieve that goal, that's fine, but don't purposefully position yourself near that person or proximity to that person just so you can ignore them.
Right.
That's fruitless.
Silent treatment is serious for us. More for me.
I'm bad about it.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
I personally, I just don't. I'm not good at the silent treatment. I'm more like in your face, like, no, you're gonna hear what I'm saying. What's going on?
I'm gonna throw the speaker in the street.
You're gonna listen to what I have to say, and I'm not gonna shut up about it.
And my silent treatment doesn't last for a long time, especially when I realize that I'm purposely ignoring him. So, for instance, we'll get in an argument, and it's time to leave the house, and he'll say goodbye, and I'll just walk out the door and close the door. But then if I get to work and they're like, oh, good morning, CJ. And I'm like, hi, guys. Good morning. What's going on? Then I'm like, okay, I'm just,
So I used to do that, like ignore him when we were leaving and stuff like that. And then one day I just had this thought of, what if I never see him again?
Yeah.
And I refuse to let the last words or moments we had be that way.
So let me say this though.
I'll definitely pause for that.
I will kiss him.
I might not like you, but I'm gonna give you this kiss and tell you I love you.
I will kiss him on the way out the door, but I won't talk to him. I'll just kiss him.
I will do that.
That's what it is.
Not the right thing.
Right. Yeah. No,
but
it's not the right thing.
I used to just be like, screw you, you don't exist. I'm ghosting you. But I just that can happen. You know, that
Yeah.
happens to people.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I can't leave the house without saying I love you. Like
Because
I
you
can't,
never
even
know,
if I'm
that
pissed.
might
Could
be
be
the
the
last time that
Right.
happens.
And I think if you think about it that way, it makes whatever you're arguing about that
So trivial.
right
Yeah.
So
that much
trivial.
smaller. Yep.
Yeah.
So real quick, I think we should talk about the argument box and the head to head. I'll
Okay.
do the head to head since it's one that me and Mr. Bree use. We haven't done it in a while, not because it's not effective, just because we haven't really needed to. Like I said on the previous episode, right now we're kind of cruising. We're not perfect, but it's just kind of, we're just kind of moseying along. But so when you and your partner are having that heated argument, and I got this from my priest actually, what you're supposed to do is sit facing each other, and you want to sit close to each other, facing each other. Your knees are probably going to touch, but you want to place your forehead on their forehead. Now, don't be trying to like headbutt them with your forehead. Just place your forehead on their forehead, and you're supposed to look at each other in the eye, and then you're supposed to hash out whatever the issue is. Now, what usually happens is before either one of y'all open your mouth to hash out the issue, you start laughing because this is incredibly stupid.
Right.
Why are we sitting there with our foreheads on each
Yeah.
other? But it works. The laughter kind of brings everything down. It takes a lot of the sting out of whatever the argument is. So you can either realize the argument's stupid and you don't even need to argue anymore, or you can get to the bottom of the problem and find a resolution. So that's an easy one that people can do if they're looking for a quick and easy way to kind of just, kill an argument really fast. Y'all want to talk about the argument box?
The argument box. Oh, so you can write a letter to your partner and just, when you're in your good days, you write a letter.
Yeah,
and
don't
you
write
say,
it when y'all mad.
Please don't write it when you're arguing.
Because the letter's gonna be like, screw you, I hate
Right.
you, you suck.
So you write
feet
all
stink.
these.
Your feet stink and your ankles ashy and your daddy wasn't in your life.
You write all these sweet things and all the things you love about your partner and just this really sweet letter, and you put it in a box.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you have an argument, you just go to the argument box and you take the letter out and you read it. And that way you'll remember why you guys love each other, and you won't be thinking about the argument that you're having at the current moment.
Right. So just a reminder to bring you
Yes.
guys back to why you're together.
Yeah.
That was a Miss Bree KDP retreat.
Yes.
Yes.
That
Exercise.
Was a
Yes.
retreat exercise.
Do y'all
Yes.
still have your boxes?
Yes.
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 So-
So we have our box, and I'll be honest, we have not used our box, but we lost the remote to the TV and had no idea where the remote was. It had to be lost for about a month. We looked everywhere. We looked under the bed, all around the room, in the closets, in the kids' room, throughout the toy boxes. Could not find it. Okay. One day I find the letter that's supposed to be in the argument box, on the side of the argument box. Okay. Go to open the argument box. There are no letters in the argument box, but the remote, is in the
Hey.
it's in the
So
argument
I'm gonna
box.
say that probably was CJJ.
Yes.
Is that what
Yes.
is that what did that?
Yes.
Little
Funny.
CJ.
Yes.
But that's
So-
so cute.
So somebody was using the argument box.
Yes,
it
that's
just
what I was
wasn't
gonna say.
us.
Wasn't you guys.
I'm gonna
Hilarious.
use this since they not using it.
Right.
So I did for I was at anniversary last year or maybe the year before. I don't know. So I made a soundtrack. So I got a scrapbook, like the ones you get from Michael's, whatever. And then I just kind of went through as a gift of song lyrics that I just that traced us, I guess, from very beginning to now. And I put that
cute.
That is cute.
in the book. And it serves as a history, but it was fun because I actually just gave it to him and was like, let's see if you can put the song, put the word lyrics with the songs and what we were going through or what happened to us at that time. And that helps too.
You are so creative.
Yeah.
Cece
I
is
like
So,
that.
so
really
to
creative
reflect
one.
on that.
Yeah.
You want to
So,
do
like,
that for the
sometimes-
rest of us? We wanted
I
to.
mean, you have to, because I don't know what songs
Right.
touch your soul.
Right.
I'll tell you the songs. You could just do the whole scrapbook for me.
And you don't put the chorus in. Don't put because everybody knows what the chorus of the song is. So you pick the other word.
The
I
actual
feel like you would
lyrics.
know it anyway
Yeah.
because we play Beat Shazam and we're really good at it. That's
Oh,
also
yeah.
how I'm gonna win $1 million.
Well, Mr. CJ does not know the correct lyrics to songs. So
That's me too, though. So it was a learning experience.
You guys
as
are
well.
definitely related. Yes.
It must be in the bloodline.
Yes. So a lot of people, when you're getting married, they will, and you're asking for wedding advice, they will say, never go to bed angry. Is that really something that's realistic? Or do you feel like there have been times when you all have gone to bed upset and still had to resolve the issue the next day?
I think it's just like what we were saying before. Right ways to argue and wrong ways to argue. That just puts everything into perspective because, like you said, leaving, that could be the last time I see you. This could be the last time you could not wake up in the morning. I hate to be like grim, but realistically though, if you're going to sleep mad, I mean, it's the same thing. Just stop, realize what you're arguing about is probably trivial and it's not something that is earth shattering anyway.
Right.
And just try to reconcile. I mean, it's very hard to say that's realistic because I know that we go to sleep mad sometimes.
Right.
But for me, I don't sleep well
When you're angry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, what was even the point of storming out the room and going in the guest room or whatever, because I'm not going to sleep well. So I might as well hash this out now and get to a resolution. I will admit, sometimes Mr. Bree, and I can tell he's this way sometimes, just to kind of get me to shut up and get over it. He's just kind of like, whatever you want, babe. Okay, I'm sorry. You're right.
I don't like that.
I don't like it either because I'm
don't
like, what are you
like that.
apologizing
I think
for?
I would like
you
that.
don't- no,
Never
because you
happens
don't-
in my household.
No, your husband, Mr. L,
stubborn.
likes to argue. We used to argue, and
But
we've never been
He
in a
doesn't really like
relationship.
to argue, but he's just
Lies.
stubborn.
He
He has to get his point across.
So for me, it's more of like, I need you to understand why I'm mad. And I want you to just know and understand.
Acknowledge
so I
it.
will drive the point home until you get it.
Let me tell you how
That's what it is for me.
ridiculous a combination of me and Mr. L are as far as arguing. One time, we had a real argument, like yelling, screaming, F you, I don't want to see you no more kind of argument over whether or not the sun cast a shadow over the front of Best Buy so you could park in the shade at a particular time of day.
What?
Okay.
So for you to be like, he don't argue. Yes, he
Well,
does.
I'm saying with me, we don't
He
talk about
loves
that.
you, girl. Ooh, he loves you because he sure as hell would argue the hell out of me.
Okay, so I guess this ties in with the whole, if you are wrong, apologize.
Yes, it's not a sign of weakness.
Yes.
And it can feel like a defeat, but it's not. It's respect. It's, I was wrong and I'm sorry. I can give you that.
Yes. Yes.
But something I think we have to talk about, I think we kind of skipped over a little bit, is the marriage accountability partners.
Yes.
Because I don't think people know what that means. So your marriage accountability partners should be someone who's also in a healthy marriage.
Yes.
Whom you feel like you can go to give you sound advice and who's going to have your best interest at heart. Luckily for the four misses, we have each other. But we recognize everybody doesn't have each other. So, where could you go to find that person?
I personally don't think that you should go to family because if you're arguing with your loved one, your partner, and you're going to your family and it's an argument where they're like, wait, hold up, I don't like that or whatever. I don't think it's appropriate to go to a family member. That's just my opinion though.
Plus, I think a lot of times family can be biased.
Yeah,
towards
very
you.
biased,
Even
right.
if you're wrong, they're going to be on your side, and you will have gotten past it, and they still holding the grudge.
Yeah, wait a minute, she
right.
did what?
Yeah.
People can certainly hold a grudge because they're not connected emotionally
Yeah.
the way you are. So
Yeah.
family is rough, but sometimes friends can be rough too.
Yeah. So I will say, luckily for me, my mom is very neutral and she's very objective.
Mine not. She took my husband's side.
So if it's something that I feel like I have to go to family about, my mom would be that person. I think obviously outside of family, you guys are a really good sounding board. I can talk to you and bounce ideas and problems off of. But I think if you're looking outside of that, if you're in, I think people who may have mentors or may be involved in some type of spiritual or religious organization, if there's a couple or a leader that you really respect and you feel that they have a strong marriage. I think going to someone in that capacity would be really good,
Right.
especially because these people, in all honesty, they can be very neutral. They don't have any ties to you or your spouse one way or the other. So it's a lot easier for them to come from the outside and give you a new look on whatever the situation may be. So that's just one option.
I think you also have to be careful who you pick.
Yes.
Yeah, very
Because I
careful.
mean, you may think that someone has
Your best
y'all's, I guess,
interest.
Right.
best interest at heart, but it may not necessarily be.
Yeah.
So I think
But
it's
that can
important
also
to
be
vet
motive.
that person or those people.
Right.
Right, and then you also have to make sure that you're not going to somebody for every single little
Yes.
thing.
Right.
You can
Right.
work mostly everything out on your own, you
Yeah.
know,
Yes.
with just the two of you. So,
And also, I think you need to make sure that you're open to receiving the honest feedback that they give you, because there's a lot of times I'll reach out to one of you guys where I know y'all are going to side with me because there's no way I could be wrong in this situation. And y'all are like, wait, hold on, Bree. Let me tell you these angles
Right.
you haven't looked at.
Right.
Yeah.
And how maybe you could have done this different. And I'm like, well, I didn't even, if I'm closed off to that, I'm not going to resolve my issue because I'm not going to be open and honest to receive what y'all are giving me. So you have to make sure you're open to receive the feedback and the criticism that you get from your accountability partners.
Right.
And you can also be someone's accountability
Yes.
partner.
Right.
It definitely can be a two-way street, Just because they've been married longer doesn't mean that you don't have a fresh set of eyes on a old issue they may have or old problem that they may have.
Right.
But I don't know if I ever said my answer to your question about the going to bed angry. I would like to keep my bedroom as calm as possible so that it is my place of rest. Because like I said, when we're arguing, I don't sleep well. But I'm positive we've gone to bed angry before.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Like-
we've gone to bed early. We've gone to bed angry
We do go to bed
before.
early though.
We've
We're
gone
old.
to bed, before angry. But one thing about us is kind of lame, but we have to be touching when we go to sleep, like some type of way, like maybe hold hands or maybe touch shoulder to shoulder
Y'all
or
are
something.
Like otters. Because otters have to hold hands when they sleep so they don't
So
drift
yeah, so it's kind of awkward when you're like, I'm pissed at him. Give me your hand. Like, just kind of like,
But I'm positive you've probably done that before.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Right. You throw that leg over, but it's like an angry throw.
So here's another tip, though, that we should keep arguments out of the bedroom. The bedroom is a place of calm, rest, and you just keep the negative energy out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I definitely
that's
think
a good-
you should probably argue in other parts of your
The kitchen, the bathroom,
the driveway, the backyard,
the car.
The car.
It's not in the bedroom.
Not in public and not in the bedroom.
Save the bedroom for the makeup.
Right. So, but what if, okay, here's something. What if you are out in public and your spouse or partner does something that really pisses you off?
I will say that if we're in public, we table the argument, which also, it may backfire on us because now you've got all this time for the anger to build up. But
Yeah,
I am
that's
a
true.
firm believer that we are on the same team.
In public,
Yes, we are on the same team. It does not matter how mad I am with him. Don't come at him the wrong way. Don't, disrespect him when I'm around. I am team, CJ households. So yeah, we just have to table it and wait until we get in the car or wait until we get home and then hash it out, but never in public.
I'm firm, never in public.
Yeah.
So it is, I'll walk away. If it's something that's really like a big deal, I'll
Right.
walk away. But I mean, I'm unleashing whenever
we try really hard not to argue in public, but he'll know that I'm upset. Like,
yeah.
the eyes are gonna
absolutely.
get cut,
Yeah.
the words are short, the voice is really low and whatever,
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna like yell, and I'm really, I just, not only is it just, I don't want all those people in our business.
That's
Have
it.
you ever
Yep.
been the person on the outside when the couple's arguing in public, and it's just kind of like,
Speaking
this is
of-
awkward.
Speaking of, when Mrs. CC and Mr. CC were, they had their engagement party, Mr. L and I were completely beefed out.
Really?
I don't know if you guys could tell.
No, I don't even remember that.
But we were
I didn't know because I
complete-
wasn't invited.
Okay, that's another topic. So
I don't have an answer. I don't even know. I don't remember what I did yesterday, but that's fine.
So Mrs. Cece and Mr. Cece started dating on the same exact day that we did. So I was just looking at him like,
We're at their
really?
engagement
Like
party.
you seem like you're never going to propose. They are already engaged. They're planning a wedding, and which was totally immature of me. And that's something that you definitely shouldn't do. Argue at your friend's celebration.
Not gonna lie,
I don't even.
because
No recollection.
we actually started
Yeah.
dating before y'all two, and then y'all got engaged and married, and y'all got engaged after us and married before us. Me and Mr. Bree had that same argument. I
That's
was
too
like,
funny.
"What's taking you so long?" I mean, he knows. He
Yep.
knows.
And
Why you don't know?
I was cutting my eyes the whole time, like, ugh, don't even touch me. Like, whatever. I don't know. What? Don't touch me.
What's taking?
And-
What's you still questioning? You not sure? Because I could find somebody who's
Yeah.
sure, baby. Like, I mean.
And the funny thing was,
Yes.
Mr. L was always like, my friends are gonna think we're not gonna make it because we're all, we're beefed out. And it's funny that you guys didn't even notice.
Did not even notice. I'll have to check with Mr.
And you let
Cece,
Mr.
but I have
Cece
no
know
idea.
that he got his men in trouble.
I'll be sure to let him know that.
That he wasn't supposed to jump in that fast.
Hilarious. Hilarious. That's funny.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, but the arguing in public, it's not cute for anybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just feel like when you step out the house, it's for the world to see. Everybody's watching, everybody's looking.
And you know what
And
else?
everybody does not have your best interest at heart.
Right, and like I don't want people to feel because this is on display out in public that they are welcome to like insert themselves.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because that's how you get me and Mr. Bree arguing with you.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you will see us come together.
Real fast.
Wait a minute, we
To
weren't
get on
talking
your
to you.
ass. Right.
Exactly. Like you
And
coming
then
in
after
here.
we handle you, we're gonna go back to arguing with each other.
And it's just really
Don't get it
uncomfortable.
twisted.
If you have ever been in the presence of someone who is arguing, it is very uncomfortable. I will
Very.
excuse myself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna go sit over there.
right.
I feel like though to an extent we've probably all been around each other when each other was kind of beefing. But do we really consider that like public? Not really.
Not really.
And even then, it may have been, well, I can tell they're not speaking as much or they're not interacting as
Yeah.
But
much.
they're not like knock down, drag out.
Yeah,
right now.
it wasn't
Yeah.
full fledged. You MFer, and I told you. Like it's
And
never
your daddy wasn't in your life.
it's never been any of that.
And you ain't nothing because he wasn't nothing.
No.
And you can't take him. That's your kid, so I don't care. No, but that's how ridiculous it can sound sometimes. You know, like that's just crazy.
You ugly. You your daddy's son. Hey.
This is my favorite one, your mom. He's like, would you stop saying that? It's not even funny.
So
What do you
to wrap this up, I think Mrs. Cece said this already, but good arguments result in constructive actions, healthier outlook on the relationship, and no resentment. And then bad arguments result in resentments and a relinquishment of control just to stop the argument. So think about your arguments after the fact and figure out if they fall into the good argument bucket or the bad argument bucket, and then do some reevaluation to see how you guys can adjust that for healthier arguments.
Right. And be honest with yourself of the role you played in the argument.
Yes.
Right.
And also recognize that arguments are normal and I venture to even say unnecessary.
They
part
are.
of
They are,
a
definitely.
Yes.
relationship. I think couples that are like, we never argue, I think they're lying.
Yeah.
Or they're headed for an end. You have to be able to resolve conflict. That's just a necessary tool you have to have as a couple. And if you never argue, you never get those tools.
Yeah, I'll tell you, my mom and dad, like my whole life, I was like, they have never had an argument. And when I got to be an adult, I told my dad, my mom passed a few years ago, but I told my dad, I said, y'all never had an argument. He's like, oh, yes, we did, just not in front of y'all.
Right.
Right. Which
Right.
also I think is important because I don't think children are able to decipher that this is just a release of emotion and that this is a normal part of an adult relationship. I think they get scared.
Yeah,
And I
they
would
do.
say you probably shouldn't have those arguments in front of your children.
Right. I know for us, like our kids are not able to even fully comprehends what an argument is. So for instance, if Mr. CJ and I are talking or like just playing around, sometimes we'll get loud. And, you know, one time my son was like, stop arguing. And we fell out laughing because we were like, well, we're not arguing. We're having fun. But he didn't understand that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So we don't want to confuse the babies. Well, that was good. Hopefully you guys learned something. We did.
Yes.
Hopefully
Yeah.
we practice what we preach.
Yes.
If you bust a skid plate to save money on the oil change.
And if you're going to storm out, make sure you have your shoes on.
All right. So on to our listener question.
Yes. What we got
This
today?
question is from Layla from New Orleans.
Hi, Layla.
Hi, Layla.
Thank you for listening. She asked, my boyfriend never posts me on his social media. Should I be worried?
Yep.
Elle said, yep.
But there's two ways to look at that. So you can look at it as I just don't want the world knowing what's going on, who I'm dating. I just want to keep him out there. Or you can take that as I don't want the world to know that I'm dating someone because I'm dating someone else and someone else and someone else.
So to answer your former, if he is posting everything else about his life, I would question that's probably not the reason. It's probably the latter. I don't think that couples necessarily have to be all over each other's social media. I kind of feel a little bit like CJ with the gag bucket in regards to that. You know, like, I don't want to hear you love his smelly breath in the mornings and whatever. But people should be able to look at him and know that there is someone in his life that's of significance, and that person is you. I would ask you if you've ever asked him why he hasn't posted you and what his answer was. And if his answer was something like, maybe he's a little jealous. Maybe he's like, I don't want people, looking at you because you're so beautiful in your mind. While there's a part of me that thinks that that's total bullshit. He could actually feel that way. Or maybe is his social media presence really not that strong and he is kind of a private person, then I'd probably be more willing to accept that. But if he's the kind of guy that is like, check out this new Gucci fit, I'm going to the club,
This
I
is
just
a
got
steak
these
I
hot
just
wings.
ate.
Yes. He's posting everything and just not you, I would have a problem with that.
That's a super red flag for me.
Yeah.
Like, I would not trust that at all. If he hasn't posted in over a year,
Right.
I mean, hey, come on. He's not a social media person.
Right.
But if he's posting every little single thing, and I've had people talk to me about they'll go on a date with somebody and they'll post something from the date, but not them. Like, they're dating that person. They're
Right.
with that person. And they'll post, like, their food and maybe the person's hand, but not, like, the actual person. It's almost like, it seemed to me, it's almost like they're embarrassed or something, or they don't want people to know that they're in a relationship. I don't know. It's a red flag to me.
Yeah. Like, does his Facebook status have that he's in a relationship, or does it say it's complicated or single or something? Like,
If it's
that's strike
complicated
one.
or single, you need
I
to
would make
just
it
run away.
complicated.
Right.
It would be real complicated.
Yeah. I agree with what everyone has said. And I think ultimately, if it's an issue and if it bothers you and it's something you want to address, talk to him about it. His response will give you everything you need to know in terms of whether or not he's just a private person and doesn't post those type of things on his social media, or whether or not he's keeping you hidden away because he doesn't want other people to know that he has this type of relationship with you.
I think we have to be careful too with like letting social media validate
Yes.
us, period,
That's
in
true.
general. Yeah. So I think you just have to be careful. If it's something where he's posting, he's always on there, and you're not on there, might be a red flag.
Yeah.
If he doesn't post as much,
And
then
his
maybe
posts
it's
are very
that. I
private.
mean,
Yeah.
I think we just have to be careful with how you use social media in general.
There's also a petty route that you could take.
You could post him.
And no,
And tag him.
you could erase him from all of your social media and see what he says. Because if he comes at you like, why you deleted all the pictures of you and I? Why does it say you're single and blah, 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 blah? I'd be like, well, I thought that's just the tone of the relationship based on what you're doing. Yeah. So I'm just following. So is that not what we're doing? You can play that role. See how it goes. But that is petty. But Miss Bree is petty, so just know that. You can take the high road or you can take the low road.
The choice is yours.
I think it is a good idea to just talk to him though, because it may be
That's
something
the
where
high
he's
road.
like, "Oh, I could post you. Okay, good," and he posts you that
Right.
day. You know, you just
Right.
don't know.
Or when he's asleep, you can take his phone, put
Don't
his
do this.
thumbprint on
Please
it,
don't do this.
post yourself,
Don't do it.
and
Layla.
just see if his DMs blow up.
Right.
I'm just saying. That's also the low road. That's also from Miss Petty Breed.
If you value your relationship with this guy, do not do that.
Or you can take his phone when he's awake and run in the bathroom and lock the door. And if he tries to beat down the
If
door
he kicks the door
behind you,
down.
Now you know.
you got something to worry about. I learned that from 2 Chainz.
That's one. That's
Shout
a good
out.
one.
Shout out
That's
to
a
2
good
Chainz.
one. Yeah.
Again, that's the low road, and that comes from Petty Breed. Just go, yeah. So you can be Michelle Obama, you can go high, or you can be Brie. Go low. The choice is yours. But that's the advice we have for you.
All right. Well, Layla, I hope this helps you
Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form. So this has been another edition of For Mrs. and a Mike. We want to thank you guys for listening and remind you that you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you have questions, comments, you want to just say hi, you can email us at formrsandamike@gmail.com. That's the number 4 mrsandamike@gmail.com. Bree, you got a quote for us?
I always have a quote for you guys. Today, our quote comes from Ms. Tamar Braxton. Shout out to Tamar. And it is, but I want to stay and fight for you. Fight till my heart is black and blue. Fight till there's nothing left. Not one single strand of the love we had. Yes, girl.
All right.
Take
All
this
right,
to
Ms.
his credit.
Tamar.
Well, this is CJ.
To the left of CC.
It's L.
And Bree.
Bye.